Hello, my name is Christopher Avent. I am the host and the founder of FAXX. Um, I want to thank all the people who have tuned in. I want to thank all the people who have called me. I've received several phone calls from people who were thanking me for the effort and thanking me for the information that came out in the first two episodes. I know I'm supposed to be posting monthly. I haven't posted, and everybody was telling me I need to come on and talk about what's been going on. So basically the studio space that I had that I started off with, the person I was renting from, they were renting from someone else, and they lost it. So I have now got this studio up and running. Actually, it will go through major changes very soon with the help of my wonderful sponsor, Uncle Nearest Whiskey. I want to thank them as always for helping out. It's going to be a very nice studio when it's done. We still have to build it, so for now I'm just doing this the backdrop. But I got my lights and my camera. I got my chairs and tables set up here, so we're moving forward. Also, I want to take a minute just to talk about why I started FAXX and what FAXX is about. Um, FAXX was born from the work that I've done with youth. I've been working with youth for over 30 years. I started in 1994 doing seminars on financial literacy, teaching high school kids about credit. Started back in 94 in Chicago public schools. Since then, I've worked with many youth over the years. And about a year ago, I had a group of young men that thanked me for spending time with them, thanked me for coming around, because I wasn't getting paid. I was showing up just because I truly have an interest on mentoring and helping the next generation. And they thanked me and they said, hey, we've never talked to somebody. We've never talked to a man 30 years older than us, right? These are young men saying that they had never talked to a man, had an honest and vulnerable conversation with a man who was 30 years older than them. And that really got me to thinking. I said, never, ever in life. And I thought about myself. And I never had a mentor, but I did have many conversations with elders in the neighborhood. Because when I came up in the 80s, I was in a community called Chatham, a neighborhood called Chatham on the south side of Chicago. So I did have a lot of elders that I talked to. Never really a mentor, but I got a lot of good information from elders. So to me, that was very alarming that a lot of these young men have never had this conversation. So I said, okay, maybe I need to do a podcast so we can have some conversations and these young men can listen. And then I thought, well, maybe they need to chime in. So anyway, we played around with the idea, and then I came up with the concept and the format of having a Gen Z, a millennial, a Gen X, and a baby boomer, right? So you got four different generations of men coming to the table to have conversations. And like you saw in that first episode, it was a 19-year-old, it was a 32-year-old, it was a 55-year-old, it was a 62-year-old, it was a 65-year-old. So we had that wide spectrum of ages, all men. And as the name says, it's FAXX. Because there's enough opinions floating around the internet. There's enough gaslighting. There's enough sarcasm. And when I think of the information, I think of what did I need? Because I wasn't raised with a father. And I didn't have a mentor. So I really thought about where does a young man today go to get some facts, to get some real information, to hear about some life experience, not game, but just information, just to know that what that individual is going through is normal when it feels like there's a heavy weight on as young men. And this applies to black, white, Hispanic, all across the gamut. When you don't have a man in your life that you can trust, that generally has a good interest in you, you're just not getting the right information. So I wanted to come up with something, excuse me, that was factual, right? So I invited men to the table, and I said, okay, only bring your life experience, so other young men and older men can hear your stories. That first episode was so powerful for Mental Health Month with my good friend Dr. Philip Montgomery, who came by, and he was just talking about all the things that he's experienced. If you haven't seen that, please go to FAXX Podcast on YouTube and check it out. A lot of good information. And me at 56 years old, hearing some of the things that he said about what grown men are dealing with, it blew my mind. There's an epidemic going on right now. 58 to 59% of handgun violence is suicide, and no one is talking about it. The latest stats from 2023 talks about 58 or 59% of suicides were men. Out of I think 49,000 suicides, 49,000 suicides, 39,000 were young men taking their own lives. So this is an epidemic. This is an epidemic. No one's talking about it. That's not the reason I started FAXX, but as in looking for topics to discuss, what men today need to understand and hear and talk about in the major thing. I came across this and I said, it's mind blowing. It's mind blowing. No one's talking about it. And my goal is to create a safe space for men of all ages to be able to come to the table and share their experiences and my experience. When men get together and have conversations, it's a beautiful experience because you're talking to other people who understand you. Men understand men. I'm assuming the same way women understand women, because we're all going through the same thing. So I wanted to create that space. I wanted to create a podcast. I want to start some conversations where men and give men a place to come to. I'm going to start a Facebook page. I think I'm going to call it My Brother's Keeper. It'll be a page just for men to come to and keep whatever conversations that we have going, to initiate conversations. I know there are a lot of homeless young men, especially on the south side of Chicago. I'm assuming around the country, there are a lot of young men that have been misunderstood by their parents, or parents have failed them, society has failed them, labeled them, whatever, and they're couch surfing, as they call it, or they're just on the street, and they don't have any place to get information, and no one really cares. I had a buddy who just got divorced, and he was looking up, therapy and safe spaces for men. He said he found nothing for men specifically. So I just wanted to create something. Again, the suicide rate is getting ridiculous. A lot of these young men you see in the news, they're not only taking themselves out, but they're taking other people out because they're just angry. They feel unwanted, underappreciated. I have several friends that are therapists or psychologists, and they talk about it all the time. Number one thing why men are coming in with depression is because they feel they just feel unappreciated, right? You work, and a lot of men feel only valued for what they can bring to the table. They're just not valued for being human beings and having feelings and yada yada yada. So anyway, I didn't want this video to go on that long. I just want to talk about what I've been through, why I haven't been posting content for my podcast. Everybody's been telling me I need to get on with some FaceTime and just talk to the camera and let people know about my journey and what's going on. So there it is. That's what I've been through. That's why I created FAXX. And these are the issues that face men today that I'm dedicating this podcast now, upon finding this out, to talking to these men. Again, the men in public schools, I've noticed in Chicago public schools at least, everything is geared towards college, right? So the kids that have an entrepreneur mindset, or they really aren't book savvy but very intelligent, as most of the teachers say, most of these kids are very intelligent. They're not going to college. There's no support. If you're not going to college, there seems to be no support. So we have some of our brightest, our best and our brightest, that has no support. They don't have a father in the house. They don't have father figures. the community at large, the country at large, looks at men as kind of disposable. So I'm here to bring a spotlight to it and hopefully introduce some change and start some conversations. So please, this segment, I think I'm going to call Take Five, where I think I'm going to give 5 points. I think I've given many more than 5 tonight in this introduction, but I'm just turning the camera on and talking. But I think I'm going to do 5 points and just open a dialogue. Hopefully, in this description, or at the very least, you guys start talking among yourselves. Because one thing I've learned about in the Boys and Girls Club, a lot of young men that come to me with their issues, they're coming to me individually with their issues, but collectively they're all going through the same issue. They're just too embarrassed to admit it to each other. So create an anonymous account if you need to. Comment on this. I'm gonna post this on the FAXX Podcast Facebook. There's a FAXX Podcast, TikTok, a FAXX Podcast, Instagram, and we're also on Spotify. So again, trying to create a safe space where men can be vulnerable and be stronger for it. Because you got to talk it. You got to talk it out with somebody and let it go, or it will stress you out and break you down. And I think we've lost way too many lives to suicide and other tragedies just because men feel unloved and unseen. So, again, my name is Chris Avent. This is FAXX, and hopefully we can start something beautiful together. Thank you.